before we dive into today's conversation, let's take a moment to ground ourselves. This meditation is all about finding your breath, your presence, and your voice. Because yoga isn't just about the poses, it's about how we show up in the world. Right now, let's find our breath, and let's find our power. Begin by finding a comfortable seat. You can sit cross-legged, on your heels, or even in a chair. Whatever allows your spine to lengthen and your body to feel at ease. Close your eyes and take a deep inhale through your nose. Hold at the top and exhale slowly out through your mouth. Let's do that again. Deep breath in. Fill up completely. Hold. And exhale. Let it go. We're going to get into some box breathing to center our mind. We're going to bring in this simple but powerful breathwork technique. Inhale for a count of 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and hold for 4. This is going to look like a box, a square. So inhale for a count of 4. I will guide you in this. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's repeat this cycle 3 more times at your own pace. With every breath, feel yourself arriving fully in this moment. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. As you continue breathing naturally, return to your natural state of breathing. I want you to imagine a light at the center of your chest. Your inner voice, your true self. With every inhale, that light glows brighter. With every exhale, you release doubt, hesitation, or fear. Repeat this silent in your mind. I am here. I am enough. I am ready to step into my power. Inhale. Light glows brighter. I am here. Exhale. Release doubt, hesitation, or fear. Inhale. Light glows even brighter. I am enough. Exhale. Release doubt, hesitation, fear. Inhale, light as bright as it ever will be in this morning meditation, or afternoon, or evening. I am ready to step into my power. Exhale, release the doubt, hesitation, or fear. Take one more deep, energizing breath in. Fill those lungs, hold at the top, and exhale with a sigh. You may gently open your eyes, take a moment to notice how you feel. You are present, you are powerful, and you are exactly where you need to be. Enjoy the show. Welcome, Podstars. On today's episode, we are speaking with Nathania Stambouli. Nathania is the founder and CEO of Yogi Flight School, an online yoga program that teaches aspiring yoga ninjas to slay their limiting beliefs by taking their practice onto their hands and upside down, so they can finally flow into any pose with ease. Come on, ninja tricks! She is also the founder and CEO of Soul Tribe Adventures, an international retreat company that aims to take people out of their comfort zone with transformational exercises, discussions, and excursions. Wherever she goes, Nathania's mission is to help people break through limiting beliefs, slay their stories of I can't to step fully into yes, I can. Nathania believes we have the capacity to create a reality we love when we dare to walk into the fire and do the work. She is a champion for those who aren't sure they have what it takes to change their lives. In this episode, we talk about what it takes to build a thriving yoga career, from overcoming self-doubt to embracing authenticity. Nathania shares hard-earned wisdom of why you shouldn't wait until you're ready to start teaching, how inauthenticity can hold you back, and why fear is actually your greatest guide. Whether you're a new yoga teacher, a seasoned practitioner, or just someone chasing a dream, this episode will leave you feeling inspired to just go for it. No more playing small, let's fly. Today on YogaPod 108. Hi, how are you, Nathania?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's so good to meet you. You're like
You
an actual
too.
person and not a video clip.
Not a video clip on the gram.
No.
I
How's your
love
day
it.
going?
Pretty good. And yours?
Oh, it's going okay. Lots of things on the trajectory, trying to hustle my way through life.
Uh-huh. I know the
Uh,
feeling.
woke up, did some yoga, planning out some sequencing. I got an interesting power audition and like power yoga audition and yin audition in the same place, like back to back. They're like 15 minutes of power, 15 minutes of yin. Go for it.
And scene. You just gotta
Yes,
like.
exactly. So I'm like sitting
That's
here
cool.
going, oh, okay, I'm gonna like try to put this together. But there are like two opposite ends of the spectrum: high energy,
Uh-huh.
poor flow, and the other one's like, let's do some bolsters and let's sit down. So
Yeah. I'm
it's
I'm sure
yeah,
they have I'm sure they take that into consideration during the audition, but that's
yeah.
exciting.
So to my Yogi Pod stars, Natanya, can you tell us a little bit about what you do, your yogic story, what brought you here?
Oh my gosh. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here chatting with you. Wow, what a question.
Yeah.
What
The
brought
skin
me
looks
here?
perfect, by the way.
My what? Sorry.
The skin looks
Oh,
like fabulous and everything.
so my dirty little secret is the filter on Zoom. If you turn it up really high, you look
Uh-huh.
fabulous. So
Okay. I'm
keep
gonna
that
have
in
to
your back
like see
pocket.
that, but I got my lighting going on. So the yogic journey.
The yogic journey. Yeah. So I was a person who poo-pooed yoga for the
Mhm,
longest time. I mean, when I learned about what it was, I was a cardio kickbox junkie, very high energy, very like
mhm,
the opposite of what you would think the quintessential yogi would be. And I really had no interest, and I was dragged to a yoga class by an ex-boyfriend once a long time ago and absolutely hated it, like hated it. And one day I was late to the gym and I had to go to the gym after work because I was working in an office job that was sucking my soul dry and that I
mhm,
absolutely hated. And I needed to go like let the anger out at the gym
mhm,
before I went home. And I got to the gym late for whatever class was there. And the only thing left on the schedule was a level 2-3 yoga class. And I had no idea what 2-3 meant. I was like two-thirds of a yoga
mhm,
class. What does that even mean? And I walked into that class kind of like hoity-toity, like, ugh, yoga, it's for old ladies. Mm.
mhm.
And I got my ass handed to me. By the way, I have a potty
Yeah.
mouth. How
Oh
do you
no,
feel
I
about this?
I was about to say like one of the things that really caught my attention about you as a person was how, I love a yoga teacher who curses their life out. It just isn't like
Yeah.
you're personable, you're the one.
Yeah.
I think like I'm also on the same vibe. It's like I like meditation, but I also like, wow, you're just a real life person with a personality. Thank you for
Yeah,
being
that's the thing.
taking up space. So
We
thank you for
can't
taking up the
pretend.
cursing teacher space. I appreciate that.
Thank you. It's all about balance, right? As
Yeah.
much as I'm who I am, there's times where you turn it off and go inward, and the rest of
Yeah.
the time, who you are. Um, and so I think I
So
lost
something
my
about your ass in the gym.
Yes, I got my ass handed to me on
Yeah.
this little piece of rubber. He put us in plank pose for like an
Hmm.
ungodly long amount of time. And I was just sweating bullets, going, what the actual heck is happening here? And he is speaking the yogic truth into my soul as I'm holding plank pose. He's going, what is going on in your mind right now? Observe yourself. And my mind was like, fuck you, dude. Like, why are we still in plank pose? Get me out of here. And I started to understand that I am not my thoughts and I
Mm.
can be the witness to my thoughts. And I was like, that was my like introduction to that like awakening that we are not, that we are separate from like the chitta vritti and the BS that's in our mind, and that we have the ability to sit as witness to that and to therefore control that. And that was my
Mm.
first introduction to that. And then I laid down in Shavasana in that class, and it was the first time in my life that I had laid down to do nothing and not like actively take a nap, but just like lay it down and do nothing. I've never done that
Mm.
before. What do you mean do nothing? Who has time to do nothing? Not this girl.
Yeah.
And the first time, my brain was quiet. And I was like, what is this sorcery? So I started to go back and back again. And then, like, my second or third class, some lady next to me goes from down dog up
Hmm.
into a handstand and into a scorpion handstand. And my jaw legitimately fell off of my face. And I was like, what is that?
Right.
How does a normal human being learn how to do that as an adult?
Hmm.
And give me that. And so
Right.
I latched on to yoga. What I tell people now is for the wrong reasons. I wanted to do the party tricks.
Uh-huh.
And in the journey to the party tricks, it completely changed my life. And I
Well, I think like
discovered,
that's so interesting what you bring up about how it was like your gateway
mhm,
into the practice because you go, I want to do those party tricks, and then you take a 200 hour, and then you're like, oh, there's this philosophy that's incorporated with the party tricks. So then you're like, wow, there's more to yoga and the culture and everything. So
yeah,
I feel like I am always that person because I love pop music and all that jazz, and my business is going to be very pop music oriented. I like this idea of bringing people into the conversation and them learning how to explore it. So I don't know if that was like the wrong way to get into yoga, but I love it
yeah,
because I definitely believe in that concept of finding the things that you're drawn to. Like yoga has something for everyone to be like, yeah, let me get to know more. And if people seek, they will find, as they say.
exactly. And I say whatever brings us into the practice
Mhm.
is perfect, and we each access it from a different place and for a different reason. And as long as we come to it, like the world just needs more people practicing yoga, but practicing yoga, not just stretching on a yoga
Mhm.
mat, but actually learning about the teachings, if not actually living them, at least being
Yeah.
aware that there is a philosophy that would very much heal the
Mhm.
world and would help heal us as individuals if we actually lived into it. The yamas and niyamas alone are
Yeah.
blew my brain wide open.
And so in terms of your journey, I was listening to your video on your website,
Mhm.
yogiflightschool.com, is it?
Yeah.
Plug. So I was listening to how you just it kind of like fell into your lap, your first teaching experience, how the person didn't show up and you're like, I'm going to lead a class. So, and talk about like making your own opportunities and just being like, yeah, I'm going to do this. So, take us like, did you think in that moment, like, this is my opportunity to do this? But then
Absolutely.
probably looking back, you're like, wow, I really was just like stepping up. How do you
Yeah.
like talk about
This
that
is
experience?
this is what I call like divine intervention. I'm not a religious person, but I am spiritual, and I believe that we get guidance that's like, first it taps us on the shoulder, and if we don't listen, it like hits us over the head with a baseball bat, right? We
Mhm.
get these moments where the universe is like, listen, this is for you. And I believe that there was a series of events that conspired in my favor, and I just had to listen and take and have the courage to raise my hand and be like, I'll do it. To recap for your listeners
Mhm.
very briefly, I walked into a yoga class one day. I thought like maybe I want to teach, but like I don't really want to
Mhm.
teach, but like I don't think maybe I should teach. Should I do a teacher training? I don't know. And I walk into yoga class one day and the teacher doesn't show up. And like I told you about my job that I hated. Like at this point, I needed my yoga or I was gonna cut a bitch,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
give me my yoga. And so and the front desk comes and they're like, sorry guys, we're gonna, you can leave. There's no teacher. And I was like, whoa, 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 hold up. I'm gonna stay and I'm gonna do some yoga. And I don't mind dragging my mat to the front of the room and I'll just say out loud what I'm doing if anybody wants to stay. And they stayed. Half of the room stayed, the other half left. And I walked out on cloud nine going, I have found my calling. Like something in my soul woke up in that moment. And it's that moment that I was like, okay, I'm doing a teacher training. And that happened not once, but twice in the span of like a 2 month period. And I was like, okay, this is what I'm doing. And within 2 weeks of starting my teacher training, I was like, this is it. I'm quitting my job in the office with no windows, and I'm
Mhm.
I'm going to take a ginormous pay cut and I'm going to teach yoga for a living. And thus
Yeah.
began the journey. And then Yogi Flight School was a product of COVID. I owned a yoga studio in LA. Like it was one thing after the
Mhm.
other, right? As soon as I
Right.
said yes, I liberate myself from this corporate job that I don't actually
Mhm.
love. I want to teach yoga. It was like opportunity after opportunity, but sometimes they're packaged in different ways, right? I got
Mhm.
invited to teach yoga on someone's yoga retreat. They wanted a
Mhm.
yoga teacher to come, and that was the catalyst for me starting my own yoga retreats, which I've been doing now since 2016.
Mhm.
And then I was talking to someone who like overheard a conversation was like, you should, I want to get out of my yoga studio. I think you would be a great person to take over my yoga studio. Do you
Mhm.
want it? And I was like, what, universe, what are you doing? No, I don't want a
Mhm.
yoga studio. I don't know. I don't want a
Right.
yoga studio. And in the same week, I have a conversation with my cousin who's like, I've been doing research into the yoga industry and I think I'd like to invest in a yoga studio. How would you feel about running one if I
Mhm.
invest in one? And I was like, what is happening? So these things just kept happening. And all I had to do was face my no, 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 face my fears of like,
Mhm.
who am I to own a yoga studio? I just got certified to teach yoga. Who am I to go on this yoga
Right.
retreat to hold space for all these people? I just got certified to teach yoga. So I got to say yes, and I got to
Mhm.
step into the fear of it and the possibility of it. But the world was really like throwing opportunities at me because I did the scariest thing, which was quit my
Mhm.
job,
Yeah.
which was
I'm
quit
in
my
I'm in the same
stable
plate
job.
actually. I quit my job in October.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was in education for 9 years, elementary school, and went through COVID and all that. And I was just like, I needed something else. I had packaged my dream of writing and I went to school for journalism. So I was just like, I packaged that and yoga, and it was just like, I'm just not doing it. And
Yeah.
then, I met this guy and we got married in October too. And he was just like, you need to start going for it. And it might have been like a night of psychedelics or something, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And then that kind of started. I was like, took the retirement money out that I had, and I was just like, invest in 200 hour. Let's get this on a roll. So I definitely I'm in that process now of like taking
Yeah.
that big leap. So I kind of feel like when I hear your story, it has a lot to do with when opportunity presents itself, you were kind of in a place where you were ready to go, and I'm trying to figure out because there will be a lot of people where opportunity presents and then they back off.
Yeah.
It seems like with your story, you were like, there's no one here. I'm going to do it. And I think Brene Brown talks a lot about this concept of kind of like the in between of our stories, where we have I was had limiting beliefs, and then it was all of a sudden I did it. But there's like this middle part of how we grow as people. So I'm wondering from yourself, how do you think you were ready to receive opportunity and really go for it?
That's a really excellent question. I had to create the space in order to receive the opportunities. I was struggling in my previous life for 10 years. Every single day, the words "I can't do this anymore" came out of my mouth. But at no point did I take a step to change it. And
Mm,
only when I said, "I am scared out of my mind. I have a little bit of money saved up, enough to survive for 3 months. That gives me 3 months to figure it out." I quit. The moment that happened is the moment the opportunities really showed up. Like, yeah, sure, opportunities came for teacher training, but like the call to do teacher training can come in so many different ways, right? The opportunities that actually truly changed my life are the ones that I built a career on, and those came after I took the scariest leap of all. But that leap, it's like I wanted the security of knowing where I was going to land, how much money I was going to make, how many students I was going to have, what it was going to look like before I took the leap. And none of it works that way.
mm,
You get to be willing to be in the free fall and trust that the net will appear in some way, shape, or form. You're going to build the parachute on the way down. Whatever like cliche you want to use,
mhm,
it's true. And like what's meant for us isn't going to let us fall. And if
mm,
we have a calling that's strong enough to make us leave a secure career, then we get to trust that that calling is not going to let us fall. And we have to play it all the way through. It's not enough
mhm,
to just quit your job and be like, "Okay, give me." You got to be like, "Okay, now start walking, start taking the risk, start putting yourself out there, start being willing to be seen, and
mhm,
it's great what you're doing with this podcast because you're out there and you're building an audience, you're using your voice, you're showcasing other people, and that's exactly what we need to do. But some of us like, okay, we'll quit the job, but then we stay like choked and we're like, "Okay, I
mhm.
can't take the next step." Yeah, 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 but you got to keep walking, and every step you take, a new opportunity shows up,
Right.
and then you grab that opportunity and you got to take another step for the next opportunity to show up.
Mhm,
So it's kind of, we look at, I like to think of it in this way. We have to be the
mhm,
person who's going to generate the opportunity in order to have the result that we want. We can't wait to have the opportunity and
mhm,
then say, "Okay, now I'm going to be courageous and I'm going to grab this opportunity." No, no, I got to be courageous. I got to forge the path. I got to take the
mhm.
step. And in that courage, the opportunity will show up for me to grab. And so it's a little bit backwards from how
Yeah.
we tend to live our lives of like, I want to wait
Mhm.
until I have. And when I have, then I'll trust myself to take the step.
Right. And I think when it comes to your five principles of balancing,
Mhm.
you call one of the principles, I think, your "oh shit" moment.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what you're explaining a little bit with, you lean in and then you have the "oh shit" moment. And during that time, we tend to like lean backwards into the
Yes.
pose. And quite honestly, it's like I was getting back into yoga and thinking through, oh, yeah, now I'm 35. Last time I did yoga seriously, I was like 23. And, I was like in the crow pose and everything. But my body's different and my body's changed. And I was going into it with like limiting beliefs. And it's like a lot of people will say, oh, you don't have to put crow in your practice. You don't have to teach it and do those things. So I was like, but then I saw your video and I was like, let me like see, and I saw some of your videos, like, let me try this out. Really looking forward, leaning in and passing through the oh shit moment because your body really feels like
Mhm.
I'm gonna fall on my face. But you're like, just lean on in there. It's all about the stacking, as you say. So because I know like it started with kind of the inversion that got you really into yoga. So can
Mhm.
you explain kind of more about your relationship with like balances and inversions and why you are doing that work?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So when COVID hit, so I owned a yoga studio in LA
Mhm,
for 5 years, and when COVID hit, we pivoted immediately and did the Zoom thing. And then I was like, nobody wants to pay a full yoga studio membership to do stuff on Zoom. So I had to
Mhm.
come up with like, how am I going to make this survive? And I came up, I really had to dig deep and go, what is it about yoga that really got me hooked and really transformed things for me?
Mhm.
It's so many things about the practice, but if I got really honest with myself, it was handstands and arm balances and being able to do really cool shit with my body as a non-athlete, as a non-gymnast, and someone
Mhm.
who fully believed there's no freaking way I can do that. And like I was convinced, right? Like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, must be nice, right? Or it's gonna take 10 years or like whatever, whatever. It was, I looked at someone else and be like, yeah, okay, that's really cute, but not me. But then I spent years actually
Mhm.
trying and actually learning. And by when I did finally stand on my hands, I was like, you know what? First of all, I wasted a lot of time working on a lot of things that didn't actually matter.
Mhm.
And what really transformed was my mind and my self-trust and my belief in
Mm.
myself. Because what it requires of you to throw your legs up in the air and trust yourself that you're going to catch yourself, that is the same thing that it takes from you to quit your job and say, I'm going to do this like super scary thing. Your brain doesn't know the difference between like a handstand and quitting your job or having a
Mhm.
really difficult conversation in your life and leaning into a crow pose. Fear is fear. It doesn't matter
Mm.
where the nervous system experience is the same. So I got a master's degree in psychology too. So I started to really like marinate with this. And I was like, this is the juice right here. It's how can we use the yoga practice as a mirror for what is happening everywhere else in our life? And I looked at the limiting beliefs that I had around arm balances. I'm too short, I'm too weak. My arms are this, my arms are that. My legs are too thick. Look at that skinny mini over there. She's
Mhm.
gorgeous. She's blonde. She's tall. Like comparison up the wazoo. I was comparing myself. I was making other people better than me. I was holding myself small. And I was like, if I'm doing this on the yoga mat about a stupid handstand, where am I doing this?
Mm.
Everywhere, it turned out. I was doing it everywhere. I was stuck in a job I hated. I was in a toxic relationship. I was doing nothing to change my circumstances other than comparing and complaining.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, my noodles. I just discovered a thing here.
Yeah.
And so I said, you know what? I was deathly afraid of being judged by
Mm.
other yoga teachers in the yoga world. I was like, I can't possibly specialize in teaching arm balances and inversions through this lens of mindset transformation, and this lens of what we learn on the yoga mat and how it changes our life. I can't possibly teach that because everyone is going to say that's not yoga. Because
Mm.
everyone knows arm balances are not important in yoga. They truly are not. You could never, as you said earlier, you could never do an arm balance in your life and be the
Mhm.
most enlightened yogi. It has nothing to do with each other. And there is such incredible richness in taking on the stories, the fear, and shit, the strength and the physical power that it gives you to
Yeah.
build to that. Like from a health perspective, it's not a bad idea, right?
Mhm.
And so I had to contend with, am I really going to dedicate my life to this?
Mhm.
Like, really, Nat? What are people going to think? And what are people going to say? And every single day on my Facebook ads, I have some bozo somewhere who's like, this is not yoga, this is circus tricks. And I'm like,
Ah.
okay, and you're not in my program and you don't know how I teach about all of the principles and how I bring out
Mhm.
yoga philosophy every chance I get and how I use every moment on the mat to go, where else is this showing up in your life? And are you going to back off right now or are you going to break through? Like, what do you
Mhm.
want? It's in your hands to make it happen. And so I decided to say, fuck it. The haters are gonna hate,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna do what I want to do. And every once
Uh-huh.
in a while, I'm like, oh my God, the haters. But
Yeah.
mostly, I'm just really resolved that there is magic here. And
Mhm.
I'm so happy to say that I started Yogi Flight School in September 2020 when I decided to teach this stuff online because we couldn't be
Yeah.
in person. And I'm so glad and I had this thing, you can't teach this stuff online. You need to be
Uh-huh.
there to hold their feet. What if they fall? What if they break their
Mhm.
face? So I had to overcome my own stuff, but then I was like, wait,
Yeah.
I am really good at explaining things in very small details in a way that people really understand what they're supposed to do. That is my gift as a
Mhm.
teacher. And I was like, when I explain it like that, people don't fall. And when they do, they fall in a way that teaches them what to fix next time. It's not
Mhm.
willy-nilly falling, right?
Right.
And they understand. And when they understand intellectually what they're trying to do, their body does the thing. And when they're physically prepared and they're aware of the mental stuff that's going to show up,
Hmm.
magic happens. So not only did I discover that people are super capable online, but I believe they're actually more capable learning this stuff online than when they have a teacher there. Because I don't know
Right.
about you, but when I'm
Hmm.
kicking up to a handstand, if a teacher is there, I'm going to wait for
Hmm.
the teacher to hold my damn legs.
Right.
And I'm going to give up my power to the
Hmm.
teacher and I'll be like, don't let me fall. Well, guess
Right.
what? When there's not a teacher there, you've got to build that for yourself.
Yeah, and I also feel like if I'm in a studio doing a work, my dog's coming now. He's away now. Hey, life. When I'm in a studio, there's very limited times usually for handstand work or inversion work, and the inversion handstand time is like, oh, this is how you do it. Go for it if you want, and then it's like such a small part of the moment. You really have to invest in a workshop if you really want to do all the dynamics. Like I'm
Right.
over in
And
my
then,
teacher training, like going on top of blocks and doing it step by step and
mhm.
stretching this and doing that. Um,
Absolutely. And you can do
so
it like that. And the
yeah.
workshops are 40 bucks a pop. And then you'll learn like one pose in 90 minutes. And then if you practice the pose again, you can't get feedback from the
Mhm.
teacher. So I wanted to create a space where people can explore all the arm balances, get as much feedback as they want with no time limitations. And it's turned into a playground for like
Yeah.
adult children. It's really fun.
I love that. That concept of the yogic playground. I feel like sometimes it is missed in studios when people go in there.
So serious.
I love the other day I was doing a side crow and I fell and I started laughing and the teacher literally was like, "Who's laughing?"
You're like,
And I was
you
like,
must laugh when you fall. It's like
so
normal for
that it
life.
made me laugh even more because I was like, "Oh, okay, I guess we're here. We're in this kind of space." Um, it's just just not taking life too seriously. I think something you mentioned that was very interesting in how you were explaining things. You were talking about how we fall, being like kind of the thing. It's like it's almost like falling with purpose. I think you were kind of hinting at. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
you fell, you learned something from the fall, now apply it to doing it again. Can you talk
Yeah.
like more about that or how it's shown up in kind of like, the caveat here is for any like young yogic entrepreneurs, I would say. How would you, and failing is just part of the job. So do you have like any tidbits on, parts of launching Yogi Flight School, parts of launching your first studio, parts of launching your retreat that shows like, yeah, this is failure and I took this and reworked it.
Yeah. I mean, like one of the most valuable pieces of advice I've ever received is you either get the result you want or the lesson you need. There's no
Mm,
such thing as a failure. Failure is inevitable, and we all know this, but like we don't want to embody it, right? We all just want it to be perfect and to be easy and like it's not working.
mhm,
And we get to let go of that because the failures are part of the process. And if you ask me like what was a failure that I turned around, I try not to, I don't even see my
mhm,
life that way. I see that as, whoa, well, that didn't work. Okay, how can we take this shit sandwich that we just
mhm,
made and salvage it and make something that's a little less shitty, but that still runs, right? And so I have so many examples when I first started Yogi Flight School of like sending out stupid shit, like sending out wrong links to a Zoom training to like my whole
mhm.
email list and then being like, oh my God. And, the one option is to go down the mental spiral of like, no, I can't see, I can't do this. Here's the reason why I can't run my own yoga school. I can't even send out an email properly. I should just shrink back and go back into my hole. And you're like, no,
Yeah.
or you can just send out another email with a link correction and move on. Right.
Right.
But I have a tendency to go into that mental spiral, and I think I'm
Mhm.
not alone in that.
Yeah.
And so, like, becoming a yoga teacher, putting yourself out there, starting a yoga business, like it is the biggest, entrepreneurship is the biggest personal development journey I've ever encountered in my life. You
Right.
will be up against yourself over and over and over. And it's mirrored in your yoga practice too.
Right.
Right. So like the fear of falling in an
Mhm.
inversion, it's like if you never allow yourself to go up enough to have a risk of falling, you're
Mm.
actually never going to fly that inversion. And if you play your budding yoga business in a way that you never risk failing, you're actually probably not going to succeed either, because that's putting a limitation on your potential. It's in that failure that you're going to overcome whatever hurdle, learn whatever lesson, and get to your next step. So I celebrate the failures. I
Hmm.
invite them. I run a team now at Yogi Flight School. It's not just
Yeah.
me. And we really talk about this all the time on our team meetings. I'm like, when you fail, like celebrate it, acknowledge
Hmm.
it, own it, and we move forward. Like there's no shame, there's no beat up, because like the one guarantee is we're gonna fail. So fail
Hmm.
fast, fail hard, fail forward, and keep going. Yeah.
So I guess what is one of the, based off of inversions and balances, it'll be a hard question for you. What's your favorite and why?
For a really long time, handstand was my favorite,
Okay.
because handstand is what started all this for me.
Hmm.
All the other ones looked cool, but I just really wanted to do a handstand, and especially the scorpion handstand. And
Hmm.
it was
Yeah.
so damn hard. It was so damn hard. It took me 5 years to learn a
Uh-huh.
handstand, because I went about it all the wrong ways. And it really highlighted all the ways that I was living my life and holding myself back, because it didn't have to take
Hmm.
5 years. It really doesn't have to
Right.
take 5 years for anybody. It does when we're caught up in our stories and in our bullshit. And it just
Hmm.
felt so good when I finally could just kick up into a handstand anytime.
Hmm.
um, but now these days it's very similar, but Pincha Mayurasana. So the forearm stand is my favorite.
Hmm.
I feel much more secure in it than I do in a handstand. I can
Yeah, I
hang
saw that
out
video.
forever. Yeah, I can hang out there forever.
I
I
was
can do
like,
all
I got those
kinds.
tight shoulders too. I got to do the little, the hand over the
Yeah, the
hand
little
situation.
hand thingy. Yeah, whatever. No yoga police, right? And that's what I love.
Yeah.
I modify the poses to make them work for the human, and not try
Oh
to jam
yeah.
the human into the poses. There's so many ways to edit poses to make them work for us.
Yeah, I'm
But
like,
Pinta
oh,
is
like
just
put your foot on the other side of the mat if you need to open up that warrior one.
I mean, we really, and this just goes to show, like, as humans, we are so quick to fight for our limitations, and we are
Hmm.
so quick to disqualify ourselves, that we would rather say, I can't do that pose, than move our freaking foot 2 inches to the
Yeah.
right. Like, it's wild. And we would rather say, I can't do that, rather than use a block, because
Hmm.
somehow using a block means we have failed, we're not good enough, we're not. And I'm like, I use blocks every chance I get, because why would I have to work harder than I need to if I could make it easier? Right. But I had
100%. I was like
many,
the only one in my
yeah,
200 that was like, I'm going to use this blanket for my knee. Now I'm going to use the strap for this. And I'm going to use the block for this.
yeah.
And
And
then,
I had
but I feel like
years. Yeah.
it gives me grace to know like we all have different bodies that show up in different ways. And it also gives me grace just to know that I can offer those modifications to people and be like, yeah, this is how the body works. How
Yeah.
did you learn so much about the body? So, like, anatomies, I feel like sometimes a huge part of placement and stacking and knowing where things are in order to get into a pose. Because you sound so like, because like for me as a 200 hour, it's like, oh, I did 200 hours and I got this much anatomy. Like, how do you learn? Did you further your exploration of anatomy? Did you know this
Yeah.
beforehand?
Yeah. First of all, the more I learn, the more I realize I know absolutely nothing. So thank you for that. But also, I know nothing. I know like this much anatomy, and there's so much more to learn. But I absolutely, after my 200 hours, I was like, I don't know. I can't. What is extension? What is flexion? I knew no, I was like, I can't. And then I became the unexpected owner of a yoga studio,
Right.
as I told you. And then turns out, when you own a yoga studio, it's very difficult to survive unless you run teacher trainings. And that's
Mm.
why there are a bajillion teacher trainings out there. I have feelings about that now.
Hmm.
And the more people practice yoga, the better the world is. So do
Right.
all the teacher trainings, it's fine. So when I started to have to run teacher trainings in order to keep my studio running properly, I was like, oh my, I gotta teach this
Right.
shit. I
Right.
gotta teach this shit. So if I don't know this shit, how am I gonna teach this shit? So I went and learned this shit.
Yeah.
So I took advanced trainings. I took advanced anatomy trainings. I studied with several amazing teachers. I did trainings with yoga medicine, with Noam Mazet, with Annie Carpenter, and people who super geek out on anatomy,
Hmm.
and and read books. And as soon as you have to teach
Great.
something, You're
Yeah.
gonna learn it.
You're going to
Yeah.
learn it. You're going to take it
Yeah.
into your own hands. And I think that's one of those things, instead of saying, I don't know it,
Yeah.
find a way.
Yeah. And as soon as you like that's I have done my best learning when
Mhm.
I've turned around and had to teach it
Right.
because A, you don't want to look like an idiot. You don't want to give wrong information, and you need to explain it in a way that's going to make somebody else understand. So I gain my greatest mastery of things when it's
Mhm.
my turn to pass it on. And the same thing with the methodology for arm balances and inversions that I've created. It's really not. People are like, why would I come take your course when I can just go on YouTube? And I'm like, well,
Mhm.
if you could have learned arm balances from YouTube, you would have done that already, or maybe you can go,
Yeah.
but details. There's such a lack of details, and it's the details that make all the difference.
Mhm.
And it's in teaching and teaching and teaching and teaching and refining that I've been able to get it to a place where it's like I can tell you where every single little body part needs to be in such a way that someone who's never done it before can be successful the first time or the second time they try it. And
Mhm.
um that just came from years of trial and error. But
And we love practice, practice, practice. We practice life,
Mhm.
we practice yoga. No one's 100%, 100% of the time.
Yeah, but what I do want to say to that is
Yes.
if you're newly starting out, creating a craft in teaching yoga, and you want to have some kind of specialization and you want to like go deep on one subject, do not hold yourself back until you know everything perfectly. Like,
Hmm.
don't take what I just told you and use it against yourself.
Right.
No, like, go forth and you will learn more. Like,
Yeah.
if I look at the trainings that I put out for Yogi Flight School in 2020 when I first started it and the trainings that I'm putting out now, they're exponentially better. I'm teaching the same stuff kind of in the same
Hmm.
way, but I've gotten so much better at refining my message.
Hmm.
But if I had waited until I got here, I wouldn't have built any of it. So
Right.
don't hold yourself back. Find what you're passionate about, like, and just start walking the path, and you'll get
Just do
better
it.
at it as you go.
Like Nike says, just do it. I had a thought and I had a question, but it's flickered away. It will come back. Let's talk about, you kind of mentioned this a little bit, and I really want to get your opinion on it because just your personality. What would you say is like your biggest yoga ick? Like when you think of like trends online or things that are happening within this like commercial yogic space, what would you say is like one of your, oh no, can we stop doing this?
That's a hard one. My biggest one is inauthenticity.
Mm,
And I think it's my biggest ick because it screwed up the first year of my yoga teaching life because I
mm,
thought that I needed to be very Om Shanti all the time and I
mhm.
needed to tone down my personality and walk into the yoga studio and be a different person. And don't get me wrong, when I'm leading an opening meditation, I'm not dropping F-bombs. There are moments, but
Sit down and get into your fucking headspace. Let's go.
right. And I could in fairness. Sometimes I do, but most of the time I don't. I behave. In Yogi
Yeah.
Flight School, not so much, but in more
Yeah.
public classes, yes, I behave better. But I tried to squeeze myself into
Mm,
the yoga teacher mold that I thought people wanted me to be, and my classes were freaking empty. And I struggled and I couldn't figure out why. I was like, my
mm,
sequencing is good, my cues are good, but people were just like peeking up the bullshit from a mile away. And people are afraid to try yoga. They find yoga unapproachable. They find yoga to be this like thing that's not for them. I
mm,
think because there's a lot of people out there putting on the yoga face, the yoga teacher
mm.
face, and the inauthentic. Some people truly
Yeah.
live that way. And
Mm,
I love you. Go be that way.
mhm,
The people who put it on like a mask and then they walk out of the yoga studio and they're gossiping and they're shit talking other people and they're, preaching veganism, but then having a steak. Like, don't preach any, like, eat what you want, but don't preach one thing and do another.
mm,
There's a layer of hypocrisy in what I've found in the yoga teaching world that is just disappointing for me
mhm.
because yoga is so incredibly non-judgmental as a spiritual practice, and we don't have to pretend. We can
Right.
just be who we are and embody the teachings in a way that we know how and communicate them in a way that's authentic to us without fakeness. And so
Hmm.
fakeness is just icky.
I would agree. I think that's where I'm trying to figure out the right balance between trying to go out there and showing like this is how you cue and this is how you put a class together, and trying to find the balance between that and like, no, what is my voice? When I was an educator teaching elementary school, there's such, teaching is teaching, and it was like, well, how do you find your teacher voice? And I feel like I'm back where I started. How do you get over that headspace? I'm back at where I start. Like I build a career and now I'm
What are
back.
you though? I
Mm,
think, is it possible that looking at it as being back is a choice that you're
mm,
making? Would you, like, what was your voice when you taught kids? Because I'll
mm.
give you a news flash, adults are just big kids.
Right.
So whatever your voice was there,
Hmm.
like there, if it was playful, if it was creative, if it was fun, if it was whatever it was, like it can literally be the same.
Hmm.
Like that was my biggest challenge is when I started my Instagram account. I was like, I can't fake who I am. And like nobody's gonna want like a kind of slightly crazy yoga teacher that says fuck a lot. Um,
Hmm.
but but I just, I was like, who am I with my friends? This is who
Right.
I am with my friends. And I'm like, well, if this is who I am with my friends, then this is who I get to be on social media as well. So
Hmm.
who you were as a teacher, that's who you are. And you don't need to create a new version. You can
Hmm.
let it morph into, whatever this new iteration of it is. But I don't think we ever start back from where we were. I think this is just a new like step, like on a new
Right.
like piece of the journey, but you
Hmm.
take all of that when you bring it with you.
We are reaching the end of our beautiful 45 minutes together. So within this last 2 minutes, is there anything you want to like wrap up this amazing conversation with, or any like things that are happening? What's next? We got Yogi Flight School. It's happening. It's growing. What's next for you?
I mean, honestly, I want to work less. I've spent the last 5 years building a business that I couldn't possibly imagine a few years
Mhm.
ago. I was just a yoga teacher trying to pay my bills, and I've created an insane international yoga school online that I'm still pinching myself. So I want to work less and let my team shine. Um, and uh, for me, that's it. But what I want to leave you guys with is follow your joy, follow the inspiration. And what I always like to say is fear is your compass. The things that are in front of you that you're afraid of, that you're like, no, 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 I can't do that. They're actually lighting the way for your next step. So instead of backing off, lean in and trust that whatever magic you're looking for is on the other side of that.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining my podcast, my very first guest.